True crime video France's unsolved mysteries. Imagine someone vanishing right before your eyes, leaving behind nothing but a trail of bizarre clues. Today, we dive into 3 unsettling mysteries from France that continue to haunt investigators to this day. But here is the catch: I haven't even shared the most shocking detail yet. The unsettling truth that ties all of these stories together will be revealed at the very end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned. The hidden connection locked within these cases baffled top investigators for decades. The House of Perfect Silence. Our first story begins with what appeared to be a perfect family. From the outside, everything looked completely normal, but a dark reality was brewing behind closed doors. Neighbors always remarked on how incredibly peaceful the family seemed, noting they had never heard a single loud argument or witnessed any family problems. But one morning, everything changed. The family members suddenly vanished from public view. Days passed, and their mailbox began overflowing with letters that went completely unanswered. Suspiciously, the heavy curtains remained drawn day and night. This was the very first warning sign, yet everyone ignored it. Neighbors simply assumed the family had gone on an extended vacation. That vacation theory didn't hold up for long. An eerie, heavy silence began to settle over the house, and sometimes, silence is far more terrifying than a loud scream. The police were finally called in to conduct a welfare check. As officers stepped inside the house, everything initially looked normal. The furniture was perfectly in place, and there were absolutely no signs of a struggle. However, one specific detail immediately made the officers deeply uncomfortable. Certain rooms were unusually, excessively clean, almost as if someone had scrubbed away every trace of life in a massive hurry. That was the exact moment investigators realized something was horribly wrong. The backyard discovery. When the team searched the backyard, the mystery took a terrifying turn. What they uncovered beneath the soil brought a shocking reality to light. Yet, by the time the discovery was made, one man had completely vanished. Suddenly, a massive discovery threw the case into a darker spiral. The entire investigation transformed into a national obsession overnight. Every major newspaper splashed the mystery across its front page, and every journalist published their own wild theory, but the more the theories multiplied, the deeper the truth hid. A breakdown of trust. Before long, a heavy cloud of suspicion fell upon the family members themselves. Relatives began doubting one another, and family trust completely collapsed. Investigators found themselves utterly trapped in a web of conflicting statements. One day a clue would seem perfectly reliable, only to fall apart the next. A witness would sound incredibly convincing, only to completely contradict themselves later. The mystery grew more complicated by the day. Even years later, the answers remain entirely incomplete. And that is exactly what terrifies people the most, having plenty of clues but absolutely zero certainty. The pattern of disappearances. If you think that's chilling, the third story is perhaps the most uncomfortable of all because it involves a wave of missing people. In one specific region, disappearances were being repeatedly reported. At first, people brushed it off as a tragic coincidence and ignored it. But as the number of missing cases steadily climbed, desperate families began flooding the authorities for answers. On the surface, each case looked entirely different, with no visible connection. But a few sharp investigators noticed a pattern so incredibly subtle that almost everyone had missed it. It was only when they began comparing the detailed reports side by side that a disturbing possibility emerged. These disappearances weren't random at all. There was a dark, common factor connecting every single one of them. Unfortunately, actual proof eluded the investigators, and without proof, a theory is just a theory. Meanwhile, public fear grew steadily out of control. Rumors spread like wildfire through every street corner and newspaper column. People began looking at total strangers with deep suspicion, and every new disappearance triggered massive panic. Suddenly, an unexpected lead emerged. Everyone believed the mystery was finally about to be solved, but the breakthrough did exactly the opposite. The lead didn't provide answers, it only created massive confusion. The deeper the investigation went, the less certain everything became. This is the exact reason these cases are still fiercely debated today. We are looking at a maze where the clues are right in front of us, but the truth keeps running away and some of the hidden details are bound to make you highly uncomfortable. What aspect of these unresolved cases should we break down next to find out what really happened? The investigation and red herrings. Investigators began by deeply examining the family records. Every single document was scanned for hidden clues, and soon, financial transactions started revealing unusual patterns. However, decoding the exact meaning of these patterns proved incredibly difficult. With every answer they uncovered, a flurry of new questions took its place. Detectives constantly felt like the truth was just within arm's reach, yet every single time, it slipped away. Suddenly, a witness came forward claiming to possess critical information. Everyone thought the direction of the mystery would finally clear up. But the moment the statement was verified, massive contradictions came to light. This major setback shattered all expectations, sending the investigation right back into a dense jungle of uncertainty. Meanwhile, the media continued to sensationalize every minor detail. Public theories quickly became far more popular than actual facts, and internet forums filled up with endless speculation. Every online user treated their own theory as the absolute truth, but reality refused to fit into any of their neatly boxed ideas. Ghost sightings and dead ends. The missing man from the first story began popping up everywhere, or at least, that is what people claimed. One person swore they recognized him in a remote border town. Another claimed to have spotted him near a quiet monastery. A third person was certain they noticed him at a busy train station. Every single report felt incredibly exciting, but none could be verified. The police poured valuable resources into chasing down every single lead, but each path eventually hit a dead end. This frustrating cycle deepened the suspense even further. The more intense the search became, the more the mystery grew. It felt as though the missing man was deliberately erasing his tracks, or worse, someone else was hiding him. Both possibilities were equally disturbing to think about. The twists in the second story began to multiply. The anonymous phone calls became the central focus of the entire investigation. Voice analysis experts were brought in to crack the case, and every single recording was carefully studied and compared. While a few similarities were detected, actual certainty remained entirely out of reach. Inside the family circle, the tension reached a dangerous boiling point. Wild accusations and constant suspicion began tearing close relationships apart. Every police interview grew increasingly emotional and deeply uncomfortable. Detectives felt that the culprit was standing right in front of them, but nobody could confidently point a finger. One suspect would slide into the spotlight, only to be cleared and slide right back out. Then another suspect would take center stage, only to vanish from the radar. The entire investigation began to feel like a high-stakes game of musical chairs. After years of relentless hard work, uncertainty still ruled the case. And that very uncertainty became the most uncomfortable element of all, knowing the truth is right there, yet completely invisible. The pattern shifts. Something very similar happened in the third story. While comparing different missing persons files, investigators stumbled upon shocking links. The dates and disappearance locations were unexpectedly related. Detectives immediately began treating this pattern with absolute seriousness, and the public believed answers were finally on the horizon. But the mystery suddenly veered in a completely different direction. A critical witness unexpectedly modified their original statement, making the timeline confusing and unreliable all over again. Every single step forward was immediately met with a harsh setback, as if an invisible force was actively blocking the investigation. Of course, there was nothing supernatural about it, just a series of highly unfortunate complications. Yet, the atmosphere grew increasingly eerie. When reviewing the case files, investigators kept running into unexplained gaps. Some pages were jam-packed with meticulous details, while others were strangely empty. This tiny, bizarre detail deeply disturbed the team. Was the information genuinely missing from the start, or had it been intentionally removed? This single question sparked fierce internal debates. The trap of red herrings. A retired officer shared a profound observation regarding the chaos. He explained that clues rarely lead you directly to the truth, instead, they often exist to misdirect investigators. And that was exactly what seemed to be happening here. Every single red herring wore the perfect disguise of a valuable breakthrough, only to eventually turn out to be completely useless. Mounting media pressure only amplified the mistakes and confusion. While the public loudly demanded immediate answers, the investigation demanded absolute patience, and the conflict between the two grew constantly. This exact friction gave birth to a massive wave of theories. Some were perfectly logical, while others sounded completely unbelievable. Yet, every single theory managed to gather a dedicated following. Humans naturally find it impossible to tolerate unanswered mysteries. The human brain instinctively rushes to fill in the blank spaces, and in doing so, it often constructs entirely wrong conclusions. The investigation teams understood this danger perfectly, which is why they refused to close the case without ironclad evidence. But the public had already written their own verdicts. In the first case, sightings are still being reported. In the second case, the blame is still fiercely debated. In the third case, the connections are still heavily questioned. This is precisely why these mysteries refuse to die. If answers are handed to us, the fascination completely vanishes. But here, the fascination only intensifies with each passing year. Brand new generations continue to discover these stories, only to ask the exact same unsettling questions. Was the culprit a close, known individual, or a complete stranger? Are the real answers still hiding deep within the official records? Did investigators completely miss one crucial piece of evidence? Or did someone intentionally conceal the truth from the world? The heavy pressure of these questions still exists today, and we are now entering the most dangerous phase of the theories, the exact point where hard facts end and wild possibilities begin. And sometimes, those possibilities are far scarier than reality itself. Get ready, because in the next act, you will hear the most disturbing theories of all, and a hidden connection that might change everything you think you know.